played, what, 2 years at Southern, right?
I played 3.
3 years at Southern.
So
Did you start? You started all 3 years at Southern.
So I ended up giving my life to Jesus Christ my junior in college. Prior to that, me and my 2 older brothers, a lady would come in the neighborhood when we were growing up and pick up all these kids, take us to church. Never made any sense. It was crazy to me. The people didn't even like us who were there because they couldn't understand why this lady was going around picking up these bad kids. And we would go. Never made sense. I didn't think God was real. I thought God was like you sin 6 days, empty your sin bucket on the seventh day, then go back out. I said, God, if you're real, show me how you relate to us in everyday life. I gave my life to Christ. A couple of things he taught me immediately. One, the nature of purpose. Everything around us has a purpose, including humans. And whatever we're purposed to do, we're already inherently gifted with it. But we have to do something to get the max out of it. That was the first thing, purpose. Second thing was how to hear God. Growing up, I hear people say, I heard God. I was standing next to him, I hear nothing. So I learned that he speaks to your heart. It says when Moses turned 40 years old, it entered into his heart to go visit his brother. David did all was in his heart unless God told him differently. So all of a sudden, to kill, a week before the season starts, my junior year in college, it enters my heart to walk on a team. Made no sense because I'm on pace to graduate with my accounting degree in 3 years because I was going year-round summer school. I just followed my heart, didn't tell my boys, nobody knew. Didn't tell my parents because I was on their dime. I was the last kid. They were going to have to pay for it. So I went and walked on. These guys had already been going through 3-a-days. They were doing 3-a-days. Yeah,
I remember
it was
those.
crazy, right?
You know.
Not even legal anymore, right? And I asked the coach if I can walk on. He allowed me to walk on. Ended up starting by the 5th game. And then I played the next year. I was a rover back my first year, just get to the ball. Second year, play corner, all conference, led the conference interception, starter, and then played my last year, which was my 3rd year, while in graduate school. And after the second year, I had a good year. We had upset Grambling, and that's right, all of you Grambling nights, Southern. We beat Grambling in the Dome, and in the Times-Picayune, which is the New Orleans newspaper, my coach, who allowed me to walk on, he had a quote in the paper because I had a decent game in the Bayou Classic. He says, Aeneaus Williams is a good player, but I don't think he'll ever go pro because at best he runs a 4.6 40.
Wow.
Which a number of people hear that and they begin to build their whole life to prove this coach wrong, right? Or prove people wrong. No, when I heard that, that gave me direction. Because number one, he was fairly right. I was running a 4.6, but that's when I began to learn the difference between facts and truth. The facts were I ran a 4.6. The truth was I had the ability to run a 4.28. So as I tell you that story, I came back, and this goes back, I was asking the young people about mentorship, right? Mm-hmm. Earlier before we got on. So I went to my teammate after I read that. So we were finishing up the fall. Bayou Classic is always Thanksgiving weekend, that Saturday after Thanksgiving. We went back to school to finish up before the Christmas and New Year's break. As soon as I got back in the dorm with my teammate, I went to a guy by the name of Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas was the fastest guy on Southern's track team and the fastest guy on the football team.
You went to the source.
I went to a credible, successful other who was doing well what I was hoping to do. Now, already in my mind, I've been taught either you have speed when you grow up, they teach you, particularly when you're in sports, you got fast guys. In my mind, I was taught early on, either you got speed or you don't. You can't coach it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what you're thinking, even as I go to Brian. So this guy named Brian, he was like our Usain Bolt. Brian was a 4.2 40 guy, 6'2", wide receiver, 10-second 100 meters. He was 1 year below me. Once again, another mentoring tip. A mentor does not always have to be somebody older. Brian was 1 year under me. I was the captain of the team. I went to Brian, and Brian, I couldn't cover him. I'd line up 10 yards off of him. He would run by me. So I went to Brian after I read this. I said, Brian, can you help me get faster? This is when I learned the power of the transference of belief. Meaning you cannot believe something, but if somebody believes it more convincingly, they can literally transfer what they believe to you. So I went to Brian like I'm looking at you. I said, Brian, can you help me get faster? He looks at me, Tikeo, he says, Aeneas, you can run a 4.340. I said, what? 4.340, right? I said, what do I do? He said, next spring when we come back, he said, Brian was from New Orleans as well. He said, when I go home, I'm working out with my high school coach. I said, I want you to come work out with me. I said, what do I do? He said, get next to me and do everything I do. I said, get next to you and do everything I do. I did. Then he said, next spring, walk on the track team. I said, walk on the track team? I said, man, I'm in grad school, I'm already finished. He said, you walked on the football team? I said, well, you got a point, right? So I walk on the track team, and my teammates, I didn't know this, my teammates on the football team, they were watching us. Like they told me later on, they want me to do a movie about this. My teammates, a lot of lawyers, they were watching this transformation. Like this to them is a miracle. Because I literally couldn't run. I was afraid, they certainly didn't think I'd play in the league. So all this unbelievable stuff that's in my head, but in my heart is something different. So I walk on, and I'm with Brian, and we're on the track. We'll run a quarter, one lap around. We start off the first 10 yards. I'm with him, and then he'd leave me. And I mean, he'll be when he finished the line, come on, Niels, come on. Man, we finished the workout, one of the workouts, I'm on the ground, and I'm looking at Brian. Brian is walking like he hadn't run. Like I'm on the ground. I've never experienced this. And finally, my leg said to me while I'm looking at Brian, my leg said to me, he said, Niels, you can keep this up, but we out. That's my leg told me. No, serious, this true story, man. And so this January, by April, pro day, which is about third week of April, Brian Thomas and I were the fastest two on Southern's track team. I clocked a 4.28 in April. After that, I was the second-rated cornerback in the country behind Todd Light out of Notre Dame.
Yep, which eventually became your teammate later in your career.
We never played. I replaced Todd.
Ah.
Todd ended up leaving, and then I came to the Rams after Todd left. But it goes back to that mentorship purpose. So let's go back to hearing that voice. So many people hear things, but they never pursue it. Because they hear it and then they try to run it through their head. If I had heard it and then been thinking, man, these guys already been practiced 3 days. This crazy, this don't make sense. If I told my parents, I don't know what my parents would have said. They may have said, hey, we getting ready to pay this last tuition. You saved that pipe dream. I didn't tell my boys because it made no sense. We would go to the games. And at HBCUs, you go to games at halftime.
When the band starts. When the band starts.
Hey.
So it's just all those things when you ask me these questions, man, this ooze out of me because it was in my Hall of Fame speech. At the end of the day, I had 2 things I wanted people to remember from the Hall of Fame speech. Begin with the end in mind and die empty. In other words, figure out what you want at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? And then once you know, get a snapshot of what you want, literally we've been created in such a way to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And so when I sit here and once again, you guys talk about behind the mask, this is the story, this is my story, but a number of us have these stories. I just want people to know it's possible for you. It may not be NFL, right? As you guys know. It's whatever. We're all Hall of Famers in some areas. He got a baritone voice, man. He got a Hall of Fame baritone voice, right?
Man, don't tell that dude.
Keep going.
Right.
Tell me more.
I got Todd, who produces the Legends podcast that we do. Phenomenal, right? I love to see how all of us in our roles, and in the younger generation, social media and all those things get them looking at everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Instead of realizing, man, you your own. I call Instaface, right? Instagram. You your own. Like you become unique when you embrace who you are. And I didn't even tell you the reason I was in accounting. I have a degree in accounting. I don't even like numbers. I'll just follow.
How do you not like numbers, but you get a degree in accounting?
I'm following my brother, Achilles. He's my model. Achilles, my brother used to fight me from following him. He literally, so once I got to Southern,